Alright, here you go. This review 2014 Porsche 911 Carrera. It's the base model. So 350 horsepower, 3.4 liter, horizontally opposed 6. Of course, it's in the back. Even the base model, this one prices out $93,000. It's got the optional wheels. It's got the Bose surround sound. And it's got the PDK gearbox, which is a $4,000 option in itself. You know, the S is a little bit more powerful, and I think you get some different paddle shifters. These buttons are, I don't know if I really like but I'd rather have the paddles. But you know, for the base, I mean, let's just assume, you know, it's a $100,000 car. For a $100,000 car, it definitely feels a little bit above the rest. You know, you could probably use this as your baseline for the I don't know if I would say the perfect car, but this would be definitely something to base other, which is usually what the Porsche, you know, 911 is for. I know in every review I've ever read that it goes up against anything. You know, it's hard to compete against this car because of all the development that it's had over the years and the evolution. And you just sit in it, and you could tell this is just, it's a driver's car. You know, everything is, you know, the tack is right in the middle. The buttons are easily accessible. Everything is within an arm's distance. There's no waste. You go, you know, even driving this car, you hit turns, it doesn't feel like there's anything wasted on this car. You know, 350 horsepower is probably, you know, for some people, probably not enough power. But for the average guy buying this car, you know, the way it is, probably plenty of power. Yeah, I don't understand. You can't even put a phone in this thing unless you put it sideways, so I don't really understand what that's for, but anyway, whatever. You know, it's got back seats, but I'm 5'8", and with this seat pulled all the way forward, I can't sit back there without hitting my head on the roof. So yeah, back seats pointless. You might as well just keep them flipped down all the time. It's got you know, exhaust note wise, it's pretty good for a stock car, and if you put it in sport, it's a little bit louder, a little bit more responsive. Shifts are a little faster if you have it in full automatic, which for driving around town, you know, felt pretty good. On the freeway, I mean, 7th gear, like 2,000 RPM, you know, I could just lightly step on the gas and it would take me up to, you know, no problem, 90, 100 miles an hour. Not that I did that or anything, but, you know, if you wanted to do that, you could do that. I fit good in the seat, but then again, I'm, you know, 170 pounds, 5'8", so if you're a big guy, I don't know if the seat's going to be so comfortable. Sound system's good. You know, it's just a good car, and if you definitely have the money to spend on a car like this, I really don't see what your other options would be. I mean, you could go cheaper and go Corvette, which is a pretty good, you know, buy, but is it as refined? Probably not, but it's still a fun car. So if you're looking for this kind of experience for $100,000, you know, a very refined experience, is probably no better car. It doesn't feel big. It looks big when you compare it to other 911s, but it doesn't feel big. It feels small, especially with, you know, not that much weight over the front wheels. And this electric steering is not that bad. It definitely, you can tell it still has that 911 feel. And I've driven a few 911s, and older ones mostly, and then one 2000 turbo, and you know, this feels, you can tell it's a 911. It has that sound. It has, you can hear the engine in the back. You know, so it's behind your head, which is, I think, the biggest surprise when you drive a 911 is hearing the engine whirring in the back. And the front end is light. So to me, I don't know, I like the experience. And enough talking, and let's start this thing up, go for a drive. It you know, they definitely have it set up to give you the, you know, full-on Porsche experience. It tells you enough times that it's a Carrera on the gauges. And then gotta love Gotta love that sound. But, that's good. On the freeway, it doesn't do bad. It doesn't feel, you know, too stiff or jolting too much. But it definitely works very good on windy roads, especially in California. Especially. That sound is perfect. Spending 6 figures on a car like this, you want a full experience. You don't want to buy something that you're going to need to put a bunch of money into, because then what would be the point of spending all that money? And I think you buy this car and you really don't have to do anything to it. You know, the wheels look good, you know, the height is good, so really though, when you look at it, what more do you need if you want a driver's car? You don't really need that much. I mean, yeah, you can make improvements to this car, but all in all, it's what you're looking, you know. It's a great car. You know, steering wheel feels good in your hands. It's not too big, it's not too small. You can place your hands just right in it. Like I said, the steering, for this electric steering that they've implemented on the 911, it definitely, they've tweaked it and made improvements to it and refined it. And that's what Porsche is really good at, is refining stuff and making things better. You know, originally when it came out, all the stuff that I read about it was that it sucked. It didn't feel like a Porsche, but I think they've covered all that by now. God, that motor. I could just listen to that all day. I think if I drove these roads, I just started driving, and I would never run out of fuel, and I wouldn't have to take this car back. I could just keep driving in loops over and over. I mean, yeah, you know, eating would be a problem, but yeah, who needs to eat when you're driving a car like this? That's constant enjoyment. Sunroof too, but it doesn't even open all the way, so it's kind of like a half sunroof. And seeing how Porsche has really started the paddle shifted Tiptronic gearbox, you know, by now, you know, they've got it pretty much down. It lifts the throttle, it shifts really fast. For an automatic gearbox, I really don't think you're going to find anything better than this. I mean, yeah, they're all pretty good now, but this is probably the most refined. It's been around the longest, had the most time in development, other than maybe the Ferrari, but you know. yes, just to have the extra power, but you could behave. If you bought this car, I don't think you would regret it. You know, I even felt when I was on the freeway, like, man, I could drive this thing pretty long trips. It wouldn't even be